Will the clerk call the roll, please?
Good morning, everyone. Calling the Board of Control meeting for Monday, April 29th. It's now 11:05 a.m. We have Nan Baker.
Here.
Dale Miller.
Here.
Trevor McAleer serving as an alternate for Dan Brady.
Here.
Mike Dever. Excuse me, we have Matt Carroll serving as an alternate for Armin
Here.
Budish. And Angela Rich serving as an alternate for Dennis Kennedy. And Lenora Lockett. Here. We have a quorum.
Thank you. As for the minutes from last meeting, are there any questions, corrections? Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second? Second. Motion and second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Any public comment today?
No public comment at this time.
Okay, thank you. On to our contracts and awards. Any tabled items?
And no tabled items.
We're ready for new items.
First
Andy?
item number BC 2019-323, Department of Public Works, recommending an award on requisition 44473 and to enter into a contract with Advanced Door Company in the amount not to exceed $300,000 for overhead garage door maintenance services for various locations, and it's for the period April 29th, 2019 through April 28th, 2022.
Good morning, Tom Pavich, Department of Public Works. This first item, we're recommending award to Advanced Door. It's a not to exceed $300,000 3-year contract. This was a formal bid that we did in conjunction with OPD. It went to 12 vendors. We had one bid submission, making the award to that vendor. This vendor does the maintenance, biannual inspections, and as needed repairs for all of our county buildings, the dock doors, overhead and large doors, non-entryway doors. So if we have a repair that's needed, those guys come out. Part of the bid submission was not only the actual inspection price, but an hourly rate price for repairs as needed, and then a price on parts, discount off list for parts as well. So,
Questions? Yes, sir. Councilman.
Why did we get only one bid on this?
I don't know. So I've looked back at the history. At the very most, we've gotten 2 bids in years past. This particular one, we only got 1 bid. We bid this out. It went through to 12 vendors. We had 1 bid submission. In talking with Matt Reimer in the past, you know, there's a lot of large accounts in the Northeast Ohio region. You know, there's multiple door companies that can provide this type of service, but when you compare the county, the size of the county, which is all of our buildings, in comparison to like the city of Cleveland or the county airport or some of the auto mechanic chains, they have a lot of overhead doors. You know, our account's actually smaller, I think. Whereas, you know, like the airport, they do have a lot of doors that are a little larger doors. You know, my guess is they're an as-needed, same-day type of service. So it's tough to say. I mean, I'm not sure if there was any no-bid sheets submitted through OPD for this particular one.
Lenora Lockett, Office of Procurement and Diversity. We were unsuccessful in getting feedback from the vendors on why they did not bid.
Do you have any indication, since you have no basis for comparison, as to whether the price you got is reasonable?
I rely on, I mean, it was a competitive bid process, but I also rely on some of my experts in the trades that have been working with this type of commodity for years. And, you know, they'll be the first to jump on us here at the administration building if, you know, the bids do not come back competitive. You know, this vendor, they provided a good hourly rate, and then I believe the discount off list for miscellaneous parts for repairs, I think they're offering 20% discount. So, you know, that's fairly good in the market.
Okay, any other questions? Sir.
Tom, is this a new contract that we've had, or have we had a similar contract in the past?
We've had similar contracts in the past, shaped pretty the same. We have a tendency to bid this out. We actually bid this out during the 3rd quarter of last year. We were getting ready to award it, but we had some internal concerns about the bonding language that was included. So we made an internal decision to go back out to bid. You know, when we bid this out the first time, we had 1 response. It was the same vendor. It was Advanced Door, so we actually wanted to be more transparent. We adjusted some of the language in the bonding, and we still had the same response. So we always do have some type of service for this. Sometimes we do have to come forward with like a mission critical if we're outside of those terms. So
Anyone?
Has Advanced Door Company, were they the previous vendor that had
they
the
were,
contract? Okay.
they were.
Are all of our doors, are any of them new or under warranty?
I would have to get back to you on that. Yeah, I can't recall because a lot of these doors, they're in excess of $10, $15, $20,000. I don't recall any type of new door purchase coming forward.
Because only certain, I think, those responsible can collect the warranty on it.
Correct. Yeah, if it's newer installed, there's always a warranty on it. I don't recall anything being under any type of warranty, but I could verify and get back to you on that.
Thank you.
All right. If there are no further questions, I'd like to move to approve this item. Is there a second? There's a motion and second. All those in favor of the item, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, please. Yeah.
Tom, does the $300,000 include just the biannual review of the doors, or does it provide dollar amounts in case we need something that happens in between the
It
two
is,
reviews?
yes. So the 300,000, that's a not to exceed. There's a big commitment that's to the actual biannual inspections. If you look at the briefing, there's a whole checklist that goes into an inspection. They space those out 6 months apart. But the 300,000 does include repairs. So repairs, when some of these doors, I think we did a mission critical last week or the week before. I think that was almost a $6,000 repair just for one door. And some of our doors, they take a beating. We'll say it. There's a lot of traffic, especially at the jails, Juvenile Justice Center, over at the county jails. So, but the 300,000, like, as I said, it's not to exceed. It does include the repairs. That's why we asked for the vendor to provide an hourly rate for those repairs as well as the parts discount.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks. Tom.
Thank you.
Ready for the next item, Andrea?
Next item is a two-part item. Item number BC 2019-324, Department of Public Works. A, submitting an RFP exemption on requisition 45205, which will result in an award recommendation to Bellinkey Inc. in the amount not to exceed $101,907 for the purchase of 2 Unimac 180-pound and 1 Unimac 125-pound capacity washer extractor machines to be used for inmate laundry in Jail 2. And B, recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Matt Reimer with the Department of Public Works. This item, if approved, will provide replacements to existing washing machines for inmate laundry services in both Jail 1 and Jail 2. These are physically located in Jail 2, but they service the entire downtown inmate population. Currently, the jail operates on one 350-pound machine and 235-pound machines that the reliability has been waning in the past months. So this will replace that functionality. We'll also keep some of the existing machines up and running as long as we last. There's a space crunch issue in this particular area. These particular machines were brought in at the time Jail 2 was constructed. So this isn't a one-for-one replacement because the size doesn't allow that. We can't get that size of machine into the building. So this accounts for all that. And will provide us working machines alongside the existing working machines, and then we can make a judge of the others once we get these new ones installed. A little bit more briefing about the history here. We were informed in December of last year, approximately mid-month, by our support provider, which also is Bellinkey, that the machines that they're supporting could not be sustained in the manner that they're doing that for very much longer, and we should consider replacement. So we started the planning and design effort immediately after that notification. That resulted in getting our project specs in, and then we had started a formal bid effort on this. You can see that we're requesting an exemption. The formal bid started, and then we had immediate coincidental notification from the wardens that they were very concerned about the reliability of the machines. So we shifted to an informal effort. And that is what has culminated in the request here today. We did do, despite that RFP exemption request, we did do exhaustive market research. During our design, we had to have significant market engagement to figure out what machines would fit. So we had pricing information on that, and then we had a 1-week by-speed informal bid to 8 vendors, and then follow-up efforts during that time with email to both the vendors that we know could potentially support this, as well as the ones we engaged during market research. With that, the price that was come in by the one vendor that we received a proposal from was discounted almost 24% from their earlier quote that we had received in market research, and the lowest of the ones that we had informally received during that market research as well. Happy to answer any of your questions.
Question, Councilman?
How many different vendors did you get informal bids from?
With the by-speed effort, this was the only vendor that replied. We had, though, informal responses during our market research phase from 3 different vendors, 2 of which replied in full to the 280 approximate pound machines and a lower machine, and 1 only responded to 1 of those sizes.
And so, why did the 2 that gave you information in the informal process not respond to the by-speed?
I can't say, Councilman. We do know that we included them in and confirmed that they both received that through the by-speed notification and through the follow-on efforts that our procurement folks went through.
Trevor? Yeah.
When they responded, did they provide pricing, the 2 vendors that chose not to respond?
They did.
And just how did it
Correct.
compare
And to be clear, that was informal through our project manager, who was at the time trying to figure out the scope. How many machines would fit? How many could we get in the building? How were we going to connect them, et cetera? So I'm sorry, to your question, how did that compare to the price that's here? Specifically, we had received a Blinky quote for the full scope that I have presented of $134,535, and then that resulted in a by-speed quote of the $101,000 that is requested in the item, $101,907. I'm not sure where their reductions came from, but that's how they responded with the reduced. The other vendor was M&L, and they informally informed us $102,810.
Not in the by-speed
Not
process.
in the by-speed.
Right.
Just informally during our scope development. And that was for 2 170-pound machines and a 125-pound machine, different manufacturer. And then we did not receive a full quote from Lakeside. We received a $31,000 for a 125-pound washer, but no quote for the larger washers.
Right. Sure.
The follow-up question on that, I know they did not submit an actual bid through the process, but informally, have we compared the warranties that came with each of the units from the 2 vendors? Like, would it be worth considering M&L's quote, unofficial quote?
So I don't know that I can go back to our project manager, but I don't know that we received warranty information. We specified warranty information based on our knowledge of the market. And so that is, I did have a response that 5 years of limited warranty on basket, shaft, and frame, 3 years parts, and 30 days labor. We put that in our specifications that went out on by-speed.
And then just last question, do we have an annual maintenance contract with, is it Blinky? Is that how the current vendor?
Blinky has been supporting them. I don't know the mechanism that they're called out on. I could confirm that. I don't know if it was a Public Works departmental order or a Sheriff's Fiscal departmental order, but I can confirm what that mechanism was. But yes, Blinky was performing maintenance of those systems, which is how we got notified of the recommendation to.
Their vendor didn't submit.
As are we.
If they went through the trouble of providing you with an email quote.
As are we, because we specifically set up the sizing of the washers to maximize participation. in addition to the physical constraints that are in the space.
Yes, Councilwoman?
Just curious, Jail 2 is Bedford?
No, Jail 2 is downtown
Oh,
jail.
Jail
It
2
is
is-
the jail on the southwest corner of the, the Justice Center complex.
Okay, so that's downtown. What would you consider then Jail 1?
Jail 1 is the northeast corner, two structures. So Jail 1 is the old 1975 structure.
Okay,
Jail 2 is the 1995 structure.
okay, that helps. Thank you.
Are there any further questions? Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to approve this item. Is there a second? Motion and second. All those in favor of approving the item, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, item BC 2019-325, Department of Information Technology, submitting an amendment to a contract with Unify Solutions, Inc. for SAP Human Capital Management Support Services, and it's for the period July 1st, 2017 through December 31st, 2019, for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $200,000.
Good morning, Janelle Green, Department of IT. This is for the contract amendment to add $200,000 to the Unify Solutions contract. $100,000 of this is coming from the general fund, and $100,000 of it is coming from the ERP budget. Those funds were budgeted and they are not coming out of the contingency fund. So the primary goals of this is to support the SAP payroll through the ERP payroll and workforce management module rollouts. Also to migrate the legacy data over into the data lake, and to provide support all of the while these activities are going on.
Questions? Councilman?
Why is the funding equally split between the general fund and the ERP budget?
Well, we still, the current contract is also split between both, and those were the funds we had available in the general fund for this contract. The ERP, we did budget in $100,000, which is about $20,000 a month, going on to the rollout of the other modules.
So, does this reflect that part of the cost is considered an operational cost and part of it's considered an installation cost, or does that not have anything to do with it?
That is exactly what it is. So we have the part that's in our web general index code, which is for the operational costs, and the part that can be capitalized is under the ERP.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Sure.
Are there any other questions? Yeah, Trevor.
I was looking at the responses. This was budgeted. It's not coming.
It's not coming out of the contingency at all.
Okay, and none of the other items, I don't, if there are ERP related.
The other ones aren't ERP related. Thank you.
If there are no further questions, I'd like to make a motion to approve this item. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor of the item, please say aye.
Aye.
Hearing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, item BC 2019-326, Department of Information Technology, recommending an award on requisition 44558 and enter into a contract with Advanced Server Management Group, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $86,016 for vulnerability and threat management software system services, and it's for the period April 29th, 2019 through April 28th, 2022.
Janelle Green, Department of IT. This particular software that we are looking for to contract with is something we did have in place before. This one is to track vulnerabilities and to manage threats that try to potentially attack our system. So this item was originally put up for informal bid, but the original bids came higher than our original threshold of $25,000. So we did put this out for an RFB, and we put it out to about 21 vendors. We got one submission back. We anticipated getting more, but unfortunately those other vendors couldn't supply quotes. So we did go with the vendor that did submit, and that was ASMGI.
Questions? Councilman?
Given that we only got one response, how do we know that their pricing is reasonable?
Well, we originally went to them before because we had similar software with them before, and they were actually significantly higher when we did the informal bid. But when we came back to do the RFB, they dropped the price lower. And so what we know, the industry, and having contacted the actual vendor that created the software, we anticipated it to be about $33,000. And so this was under that. And then
Per year?
Per year.
Gino, yeah.
Per year. Thank you for that clarification. And so since we got it cheaper than that, we opted to go for a 3-year contract, so to lock in that price.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
If there are no further questions, I'd like to make a motion to approve this item. Is there a second?
Second.
There's motion and second. All those in favor of approving the item, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gino.
Next item, BC 2019-327, Department of Information Technology, submitting an amendment to a contract with Great Northern Consulting, LLC, for support and maintenance on 5 Sun Solaris operating system T4 servers. And it's for the period June 30th, 2015 through June 29th, 2019, to extend the time period to June 29th, 2022, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $57,272.
Good morning, Board. Dennis Sullivan with Department of IT. This request is for an amendment to 5 Sun Solaris operating system T4 servers. They're located in the Columbus area. When we moved the mainframe down to Columbus and its operation, these boxes are Oracle platform. Primary services are for SAP and MVP. And so we have the language from legal as far as out clauses. If it is anticipated we won't need the whole 3 years, but we don't know that for a fact. And so we wouldn't have a problem with that. And Great Northern is the company we had before, obviously, with an amendment, and Great Northern is located in Columbus for the proximity for any break fix on these boxes.
Any questions? Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to approve this item. Is there a second? Second. Motion and second. All those in favor of approving the item, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis.
Before we go to the next item, we would like to go back to item number BC 2019-324. Matt Reimer would like to make a clarification on the funding source.
Matt Reimer with the Department of Public Works. Forgive me, I had meant to include this in my comments and did not. So it is listed as general fund. This is for the jail washers. General fund, internal service fund. That is a temporary funding source until we get the capital project set up. This will go to the capital subsidy, also general fund. We're working with the OBM capital team now to set up that project and that appropriation.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Next item is a 2-part item. Item number BC 2019-328, Department of Workforce Development. A, submitting an RFP exemption on requisition 45440, which will result in an award recommendation to IdeaStream, doing business as WVIZ PBS, 90.3 WCPN, and WCLV 104.9, in the amount not to exceed $23,000 for sponsorship of the College Only Myth Project. And it's for the period July 1st, 2019 through December 31st, 2019. And B, recommending a payment in connection with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Frank Brickner from the Department of Workforce Development. We are seeking approval to become a sponsor for the IdeaStream documentary. This documentary will highlight the many careers in in-demand industries that do not require college degrees. Technical training can be provided for these careers. What we hope to get out of it is, with the sponsorship, we will identify our name, our location. We want to direct individuals to our doors because we can provide the technical training in those careers, as we have some additional WIOA dollars to allow for training, and we do want to use those dollars in those in-demand industries. We've also had this vetted with our Workforce Development Board, where we had IdeaStream come in and we had their approval.
Questions? Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to approve this item. Is there a second? Second. There's motion and second. All those in favor of the item, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Frank.
Item BC 2019-329, Department of Human Resources, recommending an award on requisition 43812 and enter into a contract with Sachs Consulting and Investigating Services, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $33,000 for workers' compensation investigative services. And it's for the period April 29th, 2019 through March 31st, 2022.
Good morning, Pat Smock on behalf of the Department of Human Resources. This is an award for private investigative services. It's based on a competitive RFP process. The previous vendor opted out of further participation in the end of last contract to avoid a potential conflict as the principal of the firm began to work at the county in another role. And due to that change, we have had a lapse in these services as we completed this RFP process. We appreciate your consideration of this request.
Questions? Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to approve this. Is there a second? Second. There's motion and second. All those in favor of the item, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Thanks, Pat.
Thank you.
Next item, item BC 2019-330, Fiscal Office, submitting an amendment to a contract with Infor US Inc. for software support and maintenance on the IBM MVS MSA E-Series payroll processing system. And it's for the period July 2nd, 2015 through July 1st, 2019, to extend the time period to July 1st, 2020, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $69,642.
Good morning, Michael Zapola, Fiscal Office. This is basically to extend the current payroll software maintenance out another year pending the completion of the ERP payroll.
Questions?
Yes.
Councilman.
As I understand it, if all goes well, that the payroll system should be in place in January of 2020. So is it possible that we won't need all of this contract? And if so, do we only have to use part of it?
Yes, there's a 30-day buyout in this contract in case we go live in the January timeframe. We can cancel with 30-day notice.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to approve this item. Is there a second? Second. There's motion and second. All those in favor of the item, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Next item, BC 2019-331, Department of Public Safety and Justice Services, recommending an award on requisition 44777 to Toll Lift, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $70,700 for the purchase of one Ohio Region 2 Urban Search and Rescue Logistics Support Truck Mounted Forklift.
Good morning, Mary Beth Vaughn from Public Safety. As Andrea mentioned, this is a forklift that's going to go on the USAR logistics vehicle. This this purchase was actually competitively bid three times. We are making a recommendation to the only vendor who actually submitted the third time, which is Toll Lift.
Questions?
Yes. Do we have any idea why out of 19 vendors we can't get more people to bid on this?
The first time we took and bid this, we got 2 responses. The second time we bid on it, it was the same 2 people who bid. They just lowered their prices. And then the third time we bid this, it was one of those 2 who bid.
So the first 2 times, did we feel the prices were too high? Is it?
Actually, what it is, it's a grant requirement. We actually have to have the 3 bids in order to make an award. Otherwise, we have to go to the state of Ohio. We have to go through this long process and cite inadequate competition. So we were automatically had to rebid it the first 2 times.
Mm-hmm. Do we have any way of knowing whether the price is reasonable?
Yes, actually, our project budget for this was $75,000, and that was when the USAR team submitted that project. They had kind of called around to get an idea what the cost would be. Mm-hmm. And this price is actually within $3,000 of what the vendor bid last time, mm-hmm. and it is under budget.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Any further questions? Hearing none, I'd like to move to approve this item. Is there a second? There's motion and second. All those in favor of approving the item, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you.
Next item, BC 2019-332, Department of Public Safety and Justice Services, submitting an amendment to an agreement with Court of Common Pleas Juvenile Court Division for the coordinated approach to low risk misdemeanors, the CALM project, in connection with the fiscal year 2019 Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention Disproportionate Minority Contact Title II Formula Grant Program. And it's for the period January 1st, 2019 through December 31st, 2019, to modify the scope of services by expanding the delivery area of minority youth served, and it's effective on June 1st, 2019, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $18,968.68.
Good morning. After the this is our juvenile justice delinquency prevention, and as you recall, this is the one to reduce the representation of minority youth who are involved with the courts. So we went through a supplemental grant process, and after we went through that, we still had some monies left over, and the allocation committee asked us to go back to the original groups that were funded, and specifically the juvenile court, and asked them if they received additional money, would they be able to expand their services, and the juvenile court stated they would be, so they're going to take this project and actually expand it out to the city of Euclid.
Any questions? Hearing none, I'd like to move to approve this item. Is there a second? Motion and second. All those in favor of approving the item, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is a two-part item. Item number BC 2019-333, Department of Public Safety and Justice Services. A, submitting an RP exemption on requisition 45067, which will result in an award recommendation to TAC Computer, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $5,940 for computer-aided dispatch records management, connectivity, and data transfer services from Cuyahoga Emergency Communication Systems to the East Cleveland Police Department. And it's for the period April 29th, 2019 through June 30th, 2019. And B, recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
This item, as you are aware, we are taking over dispatching for East Cleveland, and this is to take data from the East Cleveland record management system and put it into the CCOMS record system, so that when we're dispatching, we have all of the officer information and the fire department information. So specifically, some of the information that would be taken over is their, how many call-outs there might have been to a particular residence. When the fire department is responding, is that a known hoarder address, information like that.
Questions?
Yes.
Councilman?
Is this basically a one-time contract to transfer the data?
That is correct, it is, yes.
And what was the procurement process?
We're actually requesting an RFP exemption. The issue that we have here is that this is a proprietary system that they're taking information from and dropping it into our system. We can't do a sole source because there are other companies that do data transfers. But the issue here is that this is the vendor's proprietary system. Other people could provide the service, but they're not going to let them access their information or give them access to their systems. Something we're running into a lot with IT companies.
If there are no further questions, Councilwoman, go ahead.
And you expect to have this finished in 2 months?
Correct. Actually, the data dump is supposed to occur on May 31st, just before we go live. We extended it till the end of June, just in case there were any problems. We'd want them under contract to make any fixes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Trevor.
The TAC Computer company, that was a vendor selected by East Cleveland, though, correct? That
Correct.
wasn't our vendor.
That
So
is correct. TAC
we're-
is East Cleveland's vendor.
Okay, because for our contracts, we can require that it's our data and stuff. It doesn't, but we didn't have control over this specific
Exactly.
vendor that East Cleveland picked. Okay, thank you.
All right, if there are no further questions, I'd like to make a motion to approve this item. Is there a second? Motion and second. All those in favor of approving the item, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Next item, PC 2019-334, Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Children and Family Services, submitting an amendment to a contract with Community of Hope for group mentoring services, previously referred to as the Open Table Model, for transition-age young adults who are previously or currently in foster care, and it's for the period July 1st, 2016 through June 30th, 2019, to extend the time period to June 30th, 2020, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $150,000.
Good morning, Bob Math with the Department of Health and Human Services on behalf of Division of Children and Family Services. We're recommending an amendment to our existing contract with Community of Hope, which was previously Amber Donovan Consulting LLC, but we assigned that and changed that name during the course of this past year. The current contract ends June 30th, and we're looking to amend that contract for another year beginning July 1st. They provide a model called Open Table, which is a group mentoring services which matches young adults who are in the custody of DCFS and children that are aging out of the foster care system with a group of adults as their support team. Hence the term Open Table. The young adult serves as their CEO of their table, and then a leader among the adult mentors is designated. They work together to help the young adults achieve goals, surmount barriers, and seek their true potential as they move forward. The tables meet on average twice a month, for the first year. Then after the first year, many of the youth remain engaged with their support team, and they continue to work with these youth as long as the youth feels engaged and enjoys the companionship of having additional mentors to support them. I know there are some questions that surfaced about how many people we served, how many open tables served, and some of the benchmarks, and I think hopefully you all received that information in advance. But based upon our monitoring of the contract and our case file reviews, they're actually doing quite well, to say the least. They've launched over 40 tables so far. Each table has approximately 6 to 8 adult mentors. And we have a number of benchmarks that we included in the contract this past year, which includes maintaining stable housing, attending scheduled meetings for at least 9 months, and completing the program, showing an increased social support, kids that have no new legal issues during the course of their involvement with the tables, the youth that are parenting, have the support in their parenting role, and youth demonstrate that they're satisfied with the service they've received. And this is all conducted through a series of pre and post tests as well as satisfaction surveys. And the results have all indicated they've really exceeded all the benchmarks to date in their contract.
Any questions? Councilman.
I have not seen anything in writing on this. What we have here simply says the department representative will address your question during the presentation. So can you send us the written summary?
Andre, I sent it to Andre first thing this morning, so she can forward it on to you. We have it. It's right here if you'd like to see it.
She didn't give it to us yet.
Oh.
I apologize. The Department of IT was doing some work on my computer, and they gave me a new operating system. My computer's not working, so I could only give them what I had. That's why I was late.
Okay, so could you follow up and send it to us?
I will.
Okay.
I will as soon as they assist me when I get back from the meeting. Thank you.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
I have a question.
Was the original contract approved as a sole source? Is the backup right there?
Yeah, the original contract was a sole source because he was using this model called Open Table, which is licensed through a company in I think in Arizona, if I'm not mistaken. And then since she's kind of moved to strengthen it and went to kind of this whole group mentoring concept and expanded it to include some of the youth's offspring, siblings can be involved in the open tables as well. So it was initially a sole source, and we amended it. And actually, we are prepared we had a new RFP crafted to release this year, but after a conversation with the Director of Health and Human Services, after a conversation with Armin, suggested to amend it one more year because of the continuity of the program and the enthusiasm that's been generated, by all the volunteers. So that's why we were amending it another time this year.
I do understand the importance of that, but if you look at the contract history, the first contract was for $70,000, which was a sole source contract then, and now this will be the fourth amendment, I believe, or the fourth contract
Fourth
amendment.
contract,
yeah,
yes.
To now, the total nearing $500,000. I mean, if it's no longer a sole source, I think there could be value in doing an RFP.
Do we have any feedback on that, Bob, as far as others who want to provide this service or anything like that?
I trust there's other entities in town that provide mentoring service. I mean, we know we have other contracts that provide the traditional one-on-one mentoring. Is there anybody doing group mentoring right now? None that we're aware of. I'm not suggesting that there's nobody else that can do it. I mean, again, we have the RFP already crafted for this year, and then we were asked just to amend the contract.
I mean, similar to what you just said, Bob, I would have to agree that there are other vendors out there that would provide mentoring services. I just look at the original contract amount being a sole source, and now it's no longer a sole source, and it's doubled per year. It used to be $70,000 per year. Now it's $150,000 the last 2 years. So it's getting more expensive, and we haven't done a bid to compare pricing.
Is there a request to hold the item for further discussion, or?
I mean, potentially, Chairman, I would guess I would like maybe potentially some more information of why we couldn't bid this out. And I understand the background and the reason for having the flow with the same vendor. But, I mean, it is double the price per year now, and it's no longer a sole source.
When you say it's not being presented as a sole source, you mean?
Yeah, if any vendor can potentially do this. I don't know how many vendors there are, but as Bob mentioned, we do have other contracts with the county that provide this service.
So is that the idea to hold the item for another further discussion?
Bob, I know, I mean, do you think it's possible to potentially get some additional background on this and see if there's other vendors that could be interested? I know we have some time before June 30th before this contract expires.
We could we surely could look into it. I mean, clearly we have a contract right now at DCFS with an agency that does a traditional one-on-one youth mentoring. Could they do group mentoring?
Right.
I suppose. There's other organizations in the past.
We don't need to vote to hold that. We just hold the item.
Correct.
Okay. All right, well, I'm going to suggest we hold it until, at least till next time, and Bobby can try to collect some information or try to find a little more background on this topic. Okay.
On this point, while we're holding it and collecting information, can we try to get some sense as to why the cost doubled? Are we serving more people, or is the program more intensive, or what? Let's try to get some understanding.
Do you know that, Bob? You know something about that, right?
Some of the information. Originally, the first 2 years, the contract was $70,000 a year. Then last year, Ms. Donovan submitted a budget for $150,000 because the first year they launched 10 tables. Then the second year they launched, I think, an additional 10 tables. Now they're up to about 40 tables and about 30 plus that are active. And she was the only person running the program, so she could not attend those. So the additional dollar is strictly for staff.
Okay.
All right, so we're holding at least till next time, and we'll discuss and we'll collect more information, right?
That's fine.
All right, thanks, Bob.
Next item, BC 2019-335, Office of the Medical Examiner, recommending an award on requisition 45071 to Leeds Precision Instruments, Inc., in the amount not to exceed $57,814, and is for the purchase of a Leeds Spectral Vision 2 system on a rollable floor stand.
Hugh Shannon, Medical Examiner's Office. This is an mobile alternate light source for the Trace Evidence Department. We have several evidence studios throughout the building for a variety of reasons, some to minimize contamination with other pieces of evidence is the main one. So this allows us to get those light sources. It does anywhere from ultraviolet to infrared lighting, which is useful in their work. And this is a mobile unit, so we don't have to outfit each of the evidence studios with that type of lighting. And this is on a grant. I will say the funding source is correct, but it should say Area 1, not Area 5.
Questions? Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to approve this item. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor of the item, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thanks, sir. We're on to the consent agenda. Andrea?
Yes, consent agenda items number BC 2019-336 through 339.
I'll take a moment to review. Any questions about the consent agenda? Yes, Councilwoman.
The, see if I get the names right here. The WIA funds that are asking for funding from 10/1/18, have we been providing those services? And why is it that it's 7 months late?
Sure, Frank Brickner from Workforce, and we agree with you. It took way too long for us to get this grant. Partner for Work is the Workforce Board out of Pittsburgh. They submitted a grant request to the U.S. Department of Labor that got approved. That was great news. It was over $6.5 million. It was a collaborative with many urban boards, including Columbus, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Gary, and that. But the Department of Labor needed a fiscal agent and a grant recipient for this, so Partner for Work was it. So they got the funding, my understanding was in October. Then it was up to them to get grant agreements with us, contracts to get us the funds. I do know in January, finally, after prodding, they got us a grant agreement, a contract. But some of the terms in that contract were not acceptable to our legal department and us. Things like indemnity clause. There was records retention requirements that exceeded the federal limit. They wanted to have Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania law. So we finally got that all sorted. And finally, in early April, we got the contract that was acceptable to our legal and to us. The good news is we've been serving dislocated workers using our WIOA allocations. If approved, we can go back and reassign some of those costs to this grant and preserve our WIOA dollars.
Any further questions?
Just one. Just as a follow-up, and I know these are grant dollars, and it is a lot of hoops to jump through. Do you think that there would be a time when we would be able to receive these fundings on time if we backed up the time that we tried to secure them? Or is it always going to be something that we can anticipate will be late?
I would certainly hope that we could get them more timely. I mean, one of the options is that perhaps if we submit a request that we apply directly and we're the fiscal agent. So that is a potential possibility. This was the first time. My understanding is this collaborative has received some funding before. This was our first time we were participating, and other areas have served as the grant recipient fiscal agent.
If I may follow, where were the funds coming from that you're using for this grant that you will reimburse?
Sure, our standard WIOA dislocated worker allocation.
Any other questions about this item or the other items on the consent agenda?
Thank you.
Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda items. Is there a second? There's a motion and second. All those in favor of approving the items, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Andrea, any other business today?
No other business at this time.
Okay,
Mr. Chair?
Yes,
Would it be
sir.
possible if we could introduce a guest we have here?
please. This would be public comment, I think.
Joe Nani from the county council offices. I just wanted to introduce Kim Hok T. He's going to be with us in the council offices for the next month through a program through Global Cleveland, and it's an exchange program from mostly government professionals working throughout the world. So Kim Hok is from Cambodia and works for the government in Phnom Penh. So I might be calling upon some of you to take some time to meet with him and talk a little bit about what you all do here. So welcome, Kim.
Welcome, thank you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
All right. There's no other public comment. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn. And there's a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Thank you.